to Modern Male Radio with Jerod Zavistoski, right here on LA Talk Radio.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Jerod Zavistoski, and you're listening to and watching Modern Male Radio. This is all the stuff your mama should have told you and the stuff your daddy never knew. And joining me tonight, as always, my co-host, Sarah Chapman.
Hi, Jerod Zavistoski. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
How are all of our listeners and viewers doing tonight,
I'm doing
too?
good.
How are you guys
curly
doing?
Q.
I know, right? Sometimes you just have to be a little curly, like a curly fry.
Oh, Susie Q.
I'm just going to stop him on that, introduce our guest.
Go for it.
It's a full house. Everybody knows how much I like that. Andrew Ferebee, Knowledge for Men.
KnowledgeForMen.com podcast.
KnowledgeForMen.com. And Ralph Brown.
Yes. NFL cornerback.
NFL quarterback for how many teams? Like all of them?
5 teams.
5 teams. You can absolutely talk about yourself the rest of the show, actually.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for.
He's just looking at you like you're stupid over there. Just like,
I
what? Like, are you going to finish the intro? Are you going to do a better job at this?
I just passed him the ball. I was like, go for it.
Yeah,
Go-
but see, he
go
tackles
long,
the
Ralph,
people.
go long.
He doesn't
Okay,
catch
well.
the ball. He tackles the people that catch the ball, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
waiting for him to tackle me because I had the ball, and I was just like, okay,
So
take
be
it.
like, when you get the ball,
Take it, Ralph,
boom,
take it.
you get Ralph,
Yeah.
right?
You get Ralph. Yeah.
You get Ralph. just grab him. So cool. We got to have a show on entrepreneurism because now, I mean, you were an athlete, you're a pro athlete, and you worked pretty much your whole life to make yourself, you had a really long, amazing career in the NFL. And now you're an entrepreneur in your own right because you do men's self-development, you do motivational speaking. And Andrew Ferebee, I've actually, it's crazy because I knew of the website Knowledge for Men. I'd seen it up, and then I don't know, somehow we became friends on Facebook or something, and I saw this post, and he was like, yeah, and what was it, in 18 months or something, you went from living on a couch to having this huge, online presence, and I had no idea the company was that new. So it's crazy because you've done podcasts with huge names.
Yeah. Interviewed it's Jordan Belfort from The Wolf of Wall Street, Tony
Yeah.
Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, John Taffer from Bar Rescue, and just such a wide variety of different New York Times bestselling authors, men's coaches, life coaches, relationship coaches, actors, UFC fighters, pro boxers.
Yeah.
It's been just an incredible ride.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what inspired that?
Yeah, I think it comes from a place of pain. I remember the days when I did everything right coming out of college. I was just the all-star student, was the all-star in organizations, and then got, graduated 2 weeks later, had a serious job, had a corporate job, and I found myself just driving 45 miles an hour to work, just thinking like, this is the freeway. Everyone's going 80. I'm going 45 because I wanted to prolong how long it would take for me to actually get to this job. And I would get to the parking lot and just look at this building and be like, oh. And I just getting to the building for me, it was just like it was stressful. It was depressing. So it was just going through this period of my life where I just couldn't do it. And I ended up taking that leap into just quitting. Just straight cold turkey. I just got I couldn't do it anymore. I just walked in and said, you know what? Today's the day. I quit, and I just started working on things that I was already passionate about, which was just working on myself through personal development, working on my dating life. I was interested in entrepreneurship, and I just followed down that rabbit hole, started building a website, started getting, the blog picked up, and then launched a podcast, and then just millions of downloads later. It's been a wild ride, having 2 Amazon best-selling books on dating and on breakups, the Dating Playbook for Men and the Breakup Manual for Men. The Dating Playbook for Men is the _1 dating audiobook in existence on Audible.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just #1. And I do live events where I do men's retreats, and men come out from as far as New York, Brazil, Malaysia, Canada, Florida. We're here in Los Angeles, so I do these events in San Diego, and it's been just I'm just trying to teach as much as I can and make the biggest impact that I can.
And you read a lot of books because I saw this big pile of books. You got a picture of it, and it's like, it's just this mountain of books. You're like, I read a book every day or something like that, right?
Yeah. I don't do a book a day. I've been reading a book a week since for about 10 years now. And so I do like literally this wall behind you. It's just like I would have my entire apartment is just books everywhere. It's girls come in, they're just like, whoa. And it's a quick filter if this is going to work right away or not.
Cool, man. Cool. And I didn't know you were in the dating community. I had no idea that you were a dating coach as well.
Not trying to be the dating coach, but I had something to say, and it seemed to pick up.
Nice. That's awesome. So yeah, we can talk about that as well.
Definitely.
That's cool.
And then Ralph, how did you come up through? Just let's give How did you pick football? Was it something you always did, or?
Well, my dad played in the NFL for a few years. He played
That's
for the
right.
Denver Broncos. It's in my blood. I mean, my cousin's Marcus Trufant played for the Seattle Seahawks. My dad's
Okay.
first cousin played for the Vikings for 10 years, so it was in my blood. My dad never brought up the NFL to me. He just let me kind of figure my way out and just
Yeah.
And then one day, my friends were playing football. I was like, I want to do that, and I was like the fastest kid on the field, and it just kind of progressed from there. And got a scholarship. Then played 10 years in the NFL. Was a part of 2 Super Bowls, and I was just blessed, man. I had a fascinating experience and learned a lot from some of the greatest coaches in football on the college level and pro level, and I learned from that. I paid attention to those coaches, and then after I got done playing, I wanted to give back. How can I give back to the community? How can I give back to kids and things of that nature? So started businesses, sports training, things, and then also I wanted to do motivational speaking because a lot of people would pick my brain. Hey, tell me about this sport. Tell me, how did you do it? What got you through these specific times? And it was just exciting talking to people and having people be like, hey, look, you changed my life. I'm glad you came and spoke to me. Or as a coach or a trainer, not just training, just life skills in general is something that I've tried to help infuse in people's lives. So it's been fun. It's been a fun ride, and I just like to continue to do it as I'm doing stuff right now as well.
Well, and physical is kind of the first place that a lot of self-development starts. Anybody will tell you go to the gym first, and you kind of that's the first place that you can tie that self-development to is your kinesthetics, getting in there, moving, building muscle, and then your endorphins change. And then once you're kind of physically feeling it, then you go out and do the mental stuff. But I don't think that people really understand just how taxing a career in the NFL can be mentally. I mean, I think a lot of people would probably think that it's so physical, but it's physical and it's mental. Could you explain the mental part for our listeners?
Oh, I mean, it's like going back to college. It's like taking a crash course or taking a course in college where you have to study so much. A lot of the guys, if you see them on television, if they make it past like 3 years or more, they're in there because they're smart, not just because they're athletic, because you have to be accountable, study so many hours. When I played in the NFL, I got there early, studied. You go through film during right before practice. Then after practice, it's like your obligation. If you want to be good and stand out and make more money and stay, you want to study hours after. On our days off, we would go in and study more. All the pros and the guys that actually are at the top level who lasted a long time, on their days off, there weren't days off, so they went in and studied more. And it's actually like an insatiable habit that you have to have when it comes to film study. Every time you watch a movie, it's like, oh, I didn't notice that part, or I didn't notice that part about the movie, and something jumps out at you. It's the same thing like watching film on an opponent. Every time you watch it, something else jumps out at you.
Like a motivational speech. I mean, yeah, because you get those, what was it, Les Brown, his motivational speeches. I mean, every time I listen to Les Brown, I get something new. I get all the time. So do you... I had something. It was right
Well,
there.
I have something. I mean, I was just
Yeah.
let the boys be boys, but
Go
I'm
for
over
it.
here just so something new. San Diego, that's where you're from, and this is where all of this began.
Yep.
There is nothing new there. I mean, I lived there for 7 years. So for you to break out of that mold of that bubble, what did that take? I mean, obviously you had a corporate job, and it was kind of like grueling and 45 miles an hour to work.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember the days where everyone's fighting for that promotion. It's like this corporate battle. Everyone's kind of fighting over each other's shoulders and stuff. But
It is not the norm, though, to go against the grain.
It is not the norm
agree with me
to
with
go
that.
against the grain.
I mean, that bubble is set.
I felt like people thought I was going crazy, and I started questioning my own sanity. I'm like, am I going crazy here? I'm quitting this job I was on track to be making. It was well over 6 figures in this salary in this company. It was like this fast track program. I was really excited. I was so fortunate to be there, but it was just I mean, it comes down to just getting I'll get deep, but we've got one shot at this thing. We can't F this up. This is just one life that we have. And I felt that I could do something. I felt that I was more. I felt that there was something else out there that I could do. And, I'm not the best at it, but I took a shot at it and I gave it everything I had. And that's just what it's come down to for me. You were saying in football, it's there's no days off. It's that's basically what it's been like for me. It's been 7 days, 18-hour days, 18 hours just trying to figure out what's going to work. How can I make the biggest impact that I want to make? How can I share this message and this story through podcasting, through YouTube, through blogging, through speaking, through live events, through books? It's a small thing that I've done, but I feel very I feel very happy with what I've done in just this short amount of time.
Oh, for sure. Did you have your family behind you, supporting you, friends, everything? What did
No,
you have
not
to
at
sacrifice?
all, actually. I think my parents thought I was crazy.
No one.
They kept questioning me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like, do you need to see the therapist? Are you okay?" I did not have the support. I did have my brother's support. He was like, "Hey," I was sleeping on his couch and really trying to make something happen from the couch, and I was podcasting at this time. I was getting a lot of downloads and I had a big audience, but I just couldn't figure out how to make money. Like, I couldn't figure out how to like make a living doing something that I truly was passionate about. That was the biggest, like, getting started is one journey. That's a big journey. Yeah. And then the next journey is like, how can you actually live off of this thing that you're so passionate about? Like, that's another
From
journey
the couch
in
to
itself.
monetizing.
And it's been a wild ride. I mean, it's been a relentless, just me getting coaching, me investing, me maxing out multiple credit cards. Like, I can't believe how easy it is to get a credit card. Like, I'm already in debt, and they're like, "Yeah, approved." I'm like, "All right, I'm getting more debt." And it was about an 18-month journey for me to go from when I went to the bank to withdraw. I wanted to go out with some friends in Pacific Beach.
I was going to say, how many Taco Tuesdays did you have to give up for
Too many
this?
Taco Tuesdays, yeah.
PB Bar and Grill and Moondoggies still holding it down over there?
Moondoggies is closed.
Is
Moondoggies is closed. But I was about to go out, and I withdrew $20, and it said insufficient funds. Yeah. And that was one of the turning points for me when I only had $14.67 to my name. And I remember going home and just laying on my bed and thinking, all right, looks like I have to get a job. Looks like it's done. Looks like I gave it a good run, and I'm going to have to do this thing part-time. But I said, well, what if I just went all in? And what if I just burned my boats completely and just started selling everything, just started doing, like, it was this period where I went all in and nothing else mattered in my life. And I had to just put my own, my vision in front and go at it with everything that I had.
So some people get a $6 burger. This guy had a $14 rock bottom. And it went from there. That's amazing.
So tell us about the highs and the lows in your profession, Ralph. I mean, similarly, I mean, because I'm sure, like, it seems to people like you had this amazing career, you've had all this stuff, but I'm sure there have been setbacks, there have been things that kind of ups and downs. Were there ever like serious turning points for you in your career?
Yeah, when I got cut from the Redskins, I signed with the Redskins, and I ended up going to training camp out there. But once I got cut, I bought a house out there as well.
Oh, wow.
And my coach from the New York Giants at the time went to the Redskins, so he's like, "Oh, you're a lock. You're going to be on the team. You're good." I ended up getting cut. I relaxed a little bit, and I wasn't studying like I should have, because a lot of the guys on the team at that time, they were partying, doing a lot of stuff that other teams didn't do. And a lot of teams are different, so I didn't study as much, so I ended up getting cut. So I go into my house in Ashburn, Virginia, and I don't have any furniture in there yet, and it hit me that I was cut. And I turned out the lights. I didn't have any furniture in there. I had like a blow-up mattress, and it was like in the kitchen area. That's just the place where I wanted to like sleep. And I fell asleep, man. I just bawled my eyes out.
I would want to sleep next to the food too. I mean,
yeah,
I like food.
Yes, and I could get up and get to the kitchen and do that stuff. But once I woke up the next day, like in the middle of the night, basically early in the morning, I'm like, you know what? If I get a second chance to get back into the NFL, I promise I will give it my all.
Yeah.
And after the first week, I didn't get signed because if you're a veteran, they don't sign you because they don't want to guarantee your contract. So after the first week, 3 cornerbacks went down. So I had my choice of where to go. So I picked the Vikings. My agent at the time guaranteed a contract for me. It was a 2-year deal with them. Once I got to the Vikings, I had to be like a special teams guy, and I just appreciated where I was.
Yeah.
Not being a corner or nickel or anything like that. I just tried my best and did my all, gave my all at special teams, and then I just worked my way up and became a nickel back, and became like just a fixture on the team.
Nice.
Like a solid name on the team, and then I just kept going from there.
That seems to be a trend with partying, and it's like you get to a certain place in your life, you feel like you kind of made it, and then you relax, and it's like boom, you just get sideswiped by this life. How do you feel about that, Andrew? Have you experienced anything like that? Was that where you were at, or?
I feel like what you're talking about is like we've reached a level of success and we kind of just stop like I've made it.
Yeah.
And I think when you say that you've made it, like you've really, it's the beginning of your downfall. Like you can look at even just great countries. You can look at like just history when people like just stop, like they stop doing what was working. They stop practicing the fundamentals. I think that's when there's someone hungrier than you. And when you lose your hunger, you're going to lose your footing. So
you got to be hungry.
That's what's referred to as a plateau. So if you hit this plateau and then you start going out and you start reverting back to your old behaviors that you were doing before you reach this, whatever pivotal moment where you're like, yes, I'm successful. Now I'm withdrawing $8,000 at a time.
Yeah.
You always have to be working.
You've always got to be working. You got to stay on it. And I feel like those plateaus can be, you can flip it around to where it's like your most, because things start slowing down and you can get more creative and you can come more alive in these periods of where you're plateauing. Like you're going downhill, but it's an opportunity where you can just slow it down and really reflect on how far you've come and continue to moving forward.
Yeah.
And then how do relationships impact the success and the plateauing and the ebbs and the whatever?
Yeah.
Distractions or positives, or how has that been for you?
Yeah, I think that if you find the right person where your values are aligned together, then it can be this like powerful duo. But if you find someone where you're having to do more or your values aren't matching correctly and it's more about lust, and then in that situation, I would encourage guys to walk away from that. And because time spent with someone is time spent away from someone that you could be with, where it could be amazing. Okay. So I feel that it can if it's the right person. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And Ralph, what about you? I'm sure with all of the crazy fame and success, I'm sure that women could or whether it's a distraction for you or did you get married early?
No, I didn't get married until my 7th season. So what I did was I tried to plan it out, and I wanted to enjoy myself for my first 7 years and experience being a rich young guy in his 20s. So that's what I did. And at the tail end of my career, I ended up getting married and all that, was good. It didn't end up working out. But, yeah, the opposite sex can be a distraction. I got into small relationships, but I got with some of the wrong ones, and it distracted me from being a success on the football field. And I remember I would just keep going back to that individual, and I wouldn't have good games. And then I would detach myself from that and just focus and have tunnel vision on football, be successful. So it's just like you said, Andrew, it's so true. And the thing about wasting time with someone, that is something that I think a lot of people need to learn in life, not just about the opposite sex, but friends as well.
Well, and it's funny, it's mind over matter. Your biology kind of betrays you, because when you're in a relationship with somebody and you fall in love or lust or whatever it is, it's a biological function that commands your brain to stay with this person, to actually equate them as something worth your time and be like, oh, well, should I trade in my career that I've been working my whole life for this person? And the fact that that's even something that you would think about is just your biology going procreate. And it's crazy because right now, like a lot of, I'm actually building like a whole coaching program, and we're gonna be including a whole bunch of stuff that's not in my book, but that's what a lot of it comes down to, is kind of the biological functions. And now that we've evolved to a place where we can actually see those for what they are, it's making it easier to kind of leverage ourselves away from them and promote healthy relationships, have healthy relationships, and have those principles. But dude, it's crazy.
Listen, dude, there's always going to be some girl that's distracting you.
I think coming down to, if this is a male show, stop settling. Not even just with women, but just in business, in your career.
Yeah.
And with obviously relationship, there's going to be someone else out there for you. It's there's abundance. We're in Los Angeles, wherever you are, our brains are wired for these prehistoric times when we lived in these small tribes and there was only a few women. But there are hundreds or 1,000, there are millions of women that you would love to be with that can make you feel this amazing feeling that you feel. And so I think for all men, it's where are the men today? If that's a conversation we can bring up. I feel that.
Absolutely. Where are you guys? Because I'm right here. So.
I think it's a big question. It's where are the men? Where are the courageous men? The men who want to lead, the men who want to stand up, the men who want to live with purpose, who want to live in alignment to what they value and have a vision and create something for themselves and for the people they love. And it's I feel like men are stagnating, getting lazy, and just settling in life and just putting up with whatever society's giving them. It's okay.
Should we blame the Instagram hoes?
I honestly,
let's do that.
I think does any man ever just scroll through Instagram and they feel better about themselves?
No, probably not. But I think blame in itself is getting on the wrong track. I mean, one of the biggest things that I used to tell people was take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for you, your actions, where you're at, because it's your fault.
Yeah, so you be responsible for your Instagram hoe trolling. It's not her fault if she does side boob Sunday every Sunday. It's your fault for looking.
Every Sunday,
Done.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like if you want a girl like that, you can get a girl like that. It's your fault that you're not. And I don't care who you
Yeah.
are. I don't care what you look
We have
like.
lots of them on the
you
show.
can get
They
and
straight up give you instructions on how to get them.
yeah, exactly. That's what the whole show's been about.
right.
Is what do these girls look for in guys? And it's
Yep.
crazy because some of them show up, they don't look anything like. I'm like, I know somebody could get that one.
These cameras,
you know?
this camera's pretty forgiving,
Yeah. Makes everybody look great.
but for the most part, we get the standard 1, 2, 3. I like a guy with brains. I like a guy, and you're like, you just want the money, and you want to be taken out to nice places and whatever.
Sometimes, but sometimes we get, and it just depends. So it's, it's all within your power. It's all within your control. And I think that, to encourage guys to kind of like drop the excuses, take responsibility, get up and just show up, just
Show up. Yeah.
Show up.
Show up.
So, I mean, you guys, so you're right now, your specific focus is more motivational speaking and you're doing events and stuff.
Yeah, my stuff is more about purpose, finding out who you are as a man, and stepping up, killing the nice guy. That seems to be a massive topic that a lot of my audience is diving into. But purpose, I feel like is just like starting with who you are, self-discovery, finding your purpose, and creating a vision for your life, and then becoming the man who can take action on that vision. I feel like men need to assert themselves into the world more. Like the masculine energy is not there. It's just being a victim of circumstance. And I think masculine energy is asserting yourself into the world, like penetrating the world, like you would penetrate a woman, like penetrate the world, but you don't
This
penetrate.
is getting hotter. I'm
You
into
penetrate
this
the
one.
world with your purpose and with your core values, like who you are as a man and your vision.
And it's funny, we're seeing a lot of our dating topics come back to that kind of the male, the aggressive male, the man who takes what he wants and da-da-da. And there's such a double-edged sword there because I meet a lot of women every day that are constantly complaining about men being too assertive and trying too hard. And it's funny because a lot of my advice now is that men should actually let go, like totally ease off.
Yeah.
What works for me when I'm trying to meet a new girl is I don't hit on her. And I get her. But in everything else, she knows that I'm that kind of man that's going to penetrate the world. So if she wants to be on the receiving end of that, it's fully within her power to, What do you
There's
think of
that balance. So there's the king power, which is that purpose, and then the balance of the lover, which is that gentle, more. It's like the yin and the yang. So there's both of those sides: the vulnerability, the authenticity, the honest side. I feel like both are like a man wants to know that there's a hard side, as well as a soft side. Both of those dynamics play in.
That's cool. So do you integrate? And Ralph, what do you? So how's your motivational? Give us kind of like a 1, 2, 3 on what you generally teach and how Give us a little brief overview of the program.
How do you penetrate the world, Ralph?
Well, basically, I just try to work with people on trying to have them find themselves. Like, who are you and what are you excited about? How do we get into that so you can find yourself? A lot of people are afraid to make that leap, are afraid because of their household, the structure they grew up in, and just their personalities. I'm introverted, so okay, so how do you get comfortable? A lot of introverts, if they're around people who are extroverted, will be extroverted.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you find yourself so you can, that's the new phrase of tonight, penetrate the world. I don't use that, but what I'm saying is that's what I try to tell people to get them excited and inspire them to say, okay, after we get out of here, it's almost like a locker room speech to me.
Yeah.
I played sports, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to you for 45 minutes
Yeah,
and
yeah.
try to get you guys to go out into the football field, which is the world, and go knock them dead, go make some tackles, be assertive, and do things like that. So what I try to do is have people find themselves and then go through a pattern of daily things, daily confessions, and talk to yourself. Get yourself hyped up. Get yourself excited before you go into a job or anywhere. A lot of times, hey, look, talk to yourself.
That's very important. You don't have to be crazy to talk to yourself.
No,
In
you
fact,
don't. I talk to myself all the
more
time.
sane to talk to yourself, especially if you're having a logical conversation with yourself.
I do that all the time. I think it's good, and I encourage it. A lot of people think, oh, this guy's crazy if he does that, but
Yeah.
No.
I think most successful people talk to themselves,
Yeah.
and then you have the opposite end of the.
I do.
Really weird.
When
but-
people look at me like I'm crazy for talking to myself, I just look
Yeah,
at them like they're crazy.
I have this monologue going on in my head like 24/7, and people think I'm stupid or something because I'm like, I'll be looking at them, but I won't. I'll be like, huh? Or you'll make a joke, and I'll catch it like 30 minutes later, and I'll be like, oh. But there's this monologue, But like you're talking about, I won't just sit there and purposely talk to myself. I'll be sitting there completely on a different wavelength. Somebody's talking, and then I'll start talking to myself over here.
Yeah, Jared might fall under the crazy.
And just like accidentally be like, oh wow, yeah, no, that's crazy. And I'm like, and then I look over, I'm like, shit, that person just completely forgot where I was so deep in thought that it was like, oh, there's that crazy fucking person over there talking to a wall. Like I could definitely see how at some point in my life, like I could, that possibility of ending up that homeless guy talking to a wall. Like,
well, I'll be filming it if that happens, so at least there will be a purpose behind it.
Yeah, and we should
for
do
my
we should
monetization
do a skit on
of
that.
you
Yeah.
becoming crazy and ending up homeless talking to yourself.
Just be like, hey, look at these old episodes. See,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful with predicting beliefs like that. So
Knocking on wood.
yeah, let's not do that.
I think if people aren't laughing at what you're doing, then you're not doing something right. You're not fully being you. I feel like it's healthy when someone's like criticizing what you're doing. Like
Yes.
if you have no one criticizing, if you're not getting emails from people saying like, oh, you should have done this, like why are you saying this? Like then you're not fully stepping into you. Because like when you fully step into you, you're gonna start developing haters, and the haters are great because it shows that like you're being authentic to who you are. And I've just been seeing that a lot. Like I used to like respond to people. No, like, you gotta just embrace it.
Did you
Yeah, you
respond
do.
at first, and like what did it
Oh,
take
yeah.
for you to cut between the like realizing that haters are not bad, that they're actually a positive aspect of growing?
I mean, there was one guy who actually like, he's like, I want to talk to you on the phone. We need, and I was like, give me your phone number. And like, I actually called him, and like we were going at it, and that was like when I hung up, I was like, I just wasted 20 minutes of my life. Talking to this guy in the middle of nowhere about something that I believe in, and just it comes to a point when you're like just wasting time. Like you just have to value your time. Like if I could talk to them, I would, but like just valuing your time is just such a critical piece, and just how I went from basically $15 to where I am now, valuing every hour, just everything's accounted for and being productive. So
get real familiar with that block button.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Where do you draw the line between self-development and like I want to develop all these things, all these qualities? Like let's say you have habits or patterns that you want to get rid of, you don't like anymore, so where do you and embracing the truth, like what you're saying, like embrace you and really step into you. Well, there was a time in my life where me was okay, let me fucking snort a line, let me go drink as many rum and cokes as humanly possible, then I'll go stand up on stage and tell you how I really fucking feel. And I've eliminated a lot of those patterns, but I wanted to be a motivational speaker even then. So I was like, what I would say is how do you what's your process to differentiate?
I say totally own that aspect of you. I mean, look, Jordan Belfort's on stage, and he totally owns that he used to do Quaaludes and drugs. And he owns it, and people actually have you seen him speak? Has anyone seen him speak? Like people just will listen to him talk. I've interviewed him. He just will talk about drugs and stuff, and it's supposed to be a motivational seminar. And people enjoy it, but he'll tie in lessons. He'll tie in. So he's being authentic with his past and who he is, but he'll throw in the lessons. So it's like you're actually getting Jordan Belfort. He's not talking about he hasn't changed so much. He's obviously just not doing the drugs, but he is himself still.
Interesting.
And so you could still own the fact, like that would make you unique, and people who like that side of you would come forward, and you would attract the people who were once like you in that position that you were once in, and you would be able to like kind of bring them onto the lifeboat, like, hey, come over here, get on my ship. But everyone's got their own ships, and like you just got to go in the direction that you want to go in. Like my audience might not like your audience might not like me, your audience like, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Like some will like and some won't, but like the key is to not try and get everyone to like you. And that's obviously the same with dating. It's just such a like cliche thing to say, but
We all have different baggage.
Exactly.
We're all on different ships.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
when
yeah.
one person tries to get you on the perfect ship and they say that they're perfect, it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
So
doesn't
more
exist.
specifically, where do you draw the line with things that need to change? I mean, like if somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, da 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 da," well, where would you say, "Hey, would you encourage them to just be completely and fully themselves in every aspect?"
Yeah, is it harming them? Like if I'm talking to a guy and let's say he's addicted to porn, I'm not gonna say like, dude, that's totally you. Like just watch, like have iPhone, like just watch porn in the
Shut
subway.
that shit off.
Like no,
Yeah.
like if it's damaging him, then all right, let's get to a healthy state. Maybe reducing this. Maybe not cutting cold turkey. I don't believe that's like the path to quitting porn addiction, but just totally just reducing and
No cutting roast beef? What? What?
Like guys who's trying to lose weight. I'm sure you experience this with your
Inappropriate.
coaching, but like you can't just cut someone cold turkey. Like if he is a certain type of way, like it's just more about getting him back to a healthier state, but he could still totally be himself in a healthy way.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, Ralph?
Yeah, and like Andrew said, you have to give yourself like pats on the back during a process on getting somewhere. So
Yeah.
when it comes to stuff like that, goals and things of that nature, it's just like, hey, look, give yourself credit and give yourself a pat on the back. Stop being hard on yourself. The one thing that I talk about is forgiving yourself. One of the hardest things for us to do is forgiving people that hurt us, whether if it's children, brother, sister, father, parents, whoever it is, teacher. That's one of the hardest things for us to do. I went through that in a relationship that I struggled with. It took me 2 years not to hate an individual, but I worked on it every day. And I knew if I kept working on it, it would break. I don't know when it would, but that's the same thing with goals. Keep going, and it'll break at some point. And
Yeah.
the whole forgiveness thing, that's tough, especially with relationships. That's an amazing thing. But if you can let go of that, get that weight off your shoulders, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, certainly. Forgive yourself, forgive them. Just in general. I can't tell you how many times in my life, even still to this day, that there's just these moments that I think back on, or I get like random, I get like amnesia, and then all of a sudden it's like I just remember this one moment in time, like 10 years ago, and it's just this cringeworthy moment, you know. And it usually happens like on hangover days, you know. Like I'll be sitting there in bed just sick as fuck, like
Trying to forgive yourself for the 35 beers you drank the night before, /
and everything
the
that I
5-year
said.
mistake you made 5 years ago.
And then,
with that one
but then
girl.
this one thing that I won't even have remembered will come up, and it'll just be like, oh God, I can't believe I did that, or like I can't believe I said that, and it's fresh, you know. And it's like I didn't even remember, I didn't even know that I knew that or had remembered that.
That might even
And-
fall. That you might be still drunk thinking about that. Who knows?
It could be,
Possible.
but you know, I can't. I've had so many messed up, embarrassing experiences in my life. Just cut you at the knees experiences. That it's like I got very, very used to, you know, kind of just wincing it off and being like, okay, well, you know, screw me, right? Like it happened, and you just kind of have to laugh it off. You laugh it off about yourself, and you kind of walk in and be like, make the joke before anybody else can make it, and then laugh about it.
Yeah, I
and-
like that you're
yeah.
sharing this. It like gets me more into your world, and I get to understand more about you. Just being more authentic and like sharing 35 beers. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. But I might not do that. But like I get to learn more about you, and the right people I think would step forward.
Maybe
to
like
that.
33 beers.
I was
33.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
There are
He's
vices.
He's like, guys, it was
nonetheless.
only 26.
No,
Spice
but
cereal.
but it wasn't me. It was Scotty. It wasn't me.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, technically,
doesn't know
after
about
about
Scotty
6
yet.
beers, then Scotty comes out, and after about 10 beers, then DeAndre comes out.
So back to talking
Yeah.
to ourselves.
got
Once
his
you have
own-
an actual character that lives inside your body, and the character starts talking to yourself, and then you become the character, you're kind of fucked at that point.
Well, it's funny because we were doing this sketch comedy thing, and I think
Yeah.
I'm actually going to start doing motivational speeches as Scotty Too Hottie, running around, being like, "Yo, get it the fuck up off the ground and go do it," you know, like just. We
be
have a
awesome.
whole bunch of
There's
really funny stuff.
self-exploration, and then there's another level of it
Yeah.
that we've reached.
Yeah, we've went into like the dark, deep crevices of messed up minds and just
More like finding your real aggressive masculine side. / That's more what
There you
Scotty,
go.
Coming from her,
Scotty
that's
comes
great.
from a good place, though. He
So
does.
where do you guys find that balance between masculine and feminine? I mean, we do a lot of talk about it. You're a dating coach, and you've been married. So do you explain that to me?
Yeah, I think if you say too much in the masculine, it could be dangerous. I think you could end up being the guy. I think you can think of a guy, we're in Los Angeles, or think of in New York, like of a very successful maybe guy on Wall Street, just absolutely crushing it, but comes home to an empty house, and he just checks email when he gets home. I think when you're too much in the masculine, you're not enjoying like everything that life has to offer. Masculine is freaking important. Like,
Yeah.
the man needs to be able to tap into that. There's a time and a place, but to be able to just relax. It's like thinking of like if you think of a big bulldog, it's just like it's kind of mean. But when it comes back to its owner, it turns around on its belly, it puts its tongue out, and it just wants to be petted. And that balance is important to be able to relax, to be able to enjoy the pleasure of other people, to be vulnerable. I like your vulnerability sharing 35 beers. It's really good.
Pretty sure I just sort of threw him under the beer bus.
That's
on
not
that
even
one,
vulnerability.
but-
That's just a Tuesday.
Both are equally important. If you're too feminine, then or it's too much on that side, you could be not tapping into your masculine self. There's still a side of you that wants to come out, and when you're too much in the feminine, it can, one, affect your relationships, and then two, affect your life and career and business. So there's the balance, and I think that's what makes it kind of tricky is being able to tap into both, because both are fun. Both have their own pleasures.
Yeah.
And then where does Jerome fall into that? Shoot, he's got 3. He's definitely got the like really masculine one. Then he's got kind of, you know, the feminine one. And then he's got, who's Jerome?
Yeah, I don't know yet. What do you think, Ralph?
Well, it's been tough because my whole life I was a football player. My dad was as well. So I'm taught just to be tough, not to show any weakness, not to cry, not to, you know, even show that I'm hurt on the football field. It's like, hey, look, just tape that up and get back out there. And that's how I was basically taught and wired. So after I went through my depression when I retired, you know, I was lost, didn't know who I was. I ended up like crying a ton of times, and I didn't know why. I'm like, dang, what am I doing? I'm a football player. I was talking to myself at that time like, you shouldn't cry. You can't cry, yada, yada, yada. But fast forward now, I realized, hey, look, you know what? I need to be able to be vulnerable. And I hang out with guys who have a masculinity to them, but also they're not afraid to admit certain things in terms of their weaknesses in their lives and what they're struggling with. Football players, we don't do that. And when we retire from the NFL, a lot of us keep that stuff inside, and it hurts us even more.
Yeah.
So now a lot more players are actually rubbing elbows and sharing, you know, things, and it helps us, because if you're tough, you know, most of your life, and now you have to escape from that, you go through depression. It's like, okay, how can I be vulnerable? I don't even know how to do this. What does vulnerable look like? How does it feel? And I eventually understood and learned how to do that.
Okay. How did you, I mean, what were some of the techniques that you used to get there?
A lot of books, just basically sharing, not being afraid to share and admit that I've cried, admit that I was lost, admit that I don't know where I am or where I'm headed at this time in my life because of my depression. I've played football for 21 years of my life. I retired at 31. I started at 10. That's 21 years of my life that I only knew and was wired to play football. So basically, I would just make sure I talk to people. My mom was like, hey, look, man, just talk to me. Friends were like, hey, look, talk to me. But it's easier said than done when you're wired to not share your feelings or your vulnerability with anyone. So I just practiced it. It comes back to practice. If you practice and share a little bit here, share a little bit there, then it comes off naturally a year, 2, 3 years later. And now it's like easy for me to admit things and be vulnerable in front of a male or female.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Yeah.
It's so funny when people are like, oh, well, you just need to be a better communicator. And it's like, well, that involves a lot of work. Some people are just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Like,
I had to learn the opposite.
time.
I used to just share anything. I had no filter. It was like if I was thinking it, you were hearing it.
He still does
and
that.
I had to
Still
I had to work really, really hard to like go, okay, maybe you shouldn't tell this person that one thing. Not everybody needs to know every blanket detail of your life.
Yeah.
But it was funny because what you're talking about with, being authentic, being true to you, that made me miserable. And the more I hid, the more I was like, I became afraid to go out and do, like, the more I don't know what you call it, just close myself off to everything.
It's like you're putting on a mask.
Yeah, and it completely killed my communication facilities. So where I used to be, everybody loved talking to me. Everybody loved being around me because I was funny, and I would come up with these things, these examples of my life that would just, they would disarm anybody. It'd just be like, okay, this guy's awesome, like da-da-da. All of a sudden, all that was gone. So now I'm sitting here trying to communicate with people, and I'm like, what is this? Like, and it was all based on being authentic and kind of telling people who I was and not being afraid.
Yeah.
And it all boils down to fear.
Yeah.
So,
I think men fear vulnerability because it can be viewed as a sign of weakness, especially if you're coming from like a very alpha type community with friends or your family. But in my opinion, I feel like vulnerability is a sign of strength for a man because vulnerability it's hard. It's like it's hard. Like, just to straight tell, it's speaking your truth. And when you're speaking your truth, it's hard to do that, to just take off the mask and be naked with someone else. And what I find is that when you're vulnerable, you open the doors for other people around you to be vulnerable because they're like, oh, it's okay. Like I could be vulnerable. And it creates this safe environment. And with women, I find it to be the most powerful. Like vulnerability to me is seduction. Like if you want to seduce a woman, speak your truth and be vulnerable. And in that process, like she can see the real you. And it's like so many men are wearing a mask, like, hey, look at me. And she knows you're wearing a mask. Like she wants to see the real you. And when you step up and show up, it's like, it's a very relieving feeling. Like I can trust this man.
Yeah, I found that as well a lot in dating and stuff. You know, you go out, you go on a date. One of the first things I tell people, I'm like, my first thing that I have to do or work on is once you've developed yourself, you know, you're dressed well, you look good, you look great on paper. The first thing that I have to do is convince somebody that I'm not a douchebag. You just got, like, because on paper, everybody's like, oh, I'm just waiting for this guy to screw up. So then you immediately have to break down all these walls and kind of get vulnerable with them for that second. And what do you think, Sarah? I mean, you've been through it. You're dating.
She's
you're
getting
the
ready.
pro.
She's like, all right,
I'm
guys.
just
Here's the scoop.
We're talking about guards, basically. We're talking about the first thing that you see. If somebody's looked at my Instagram, you're not going to see me promoting vitamins in my underwear. So basically, you're going to see who I am, like just how you portray yourself.
Yeah, tons of Bud Light Lime.
Vitamins.
Yes, exactly.
Green tea.
There are
Protein
going to be
shots.
many silly things that you're going to see, and that's going to reflect who I am.
Yeah.
And if I'm making fun of the girls that sell the vitamins in their underwear, then okay, that's
No, but
definitely a
Sarah,
reflection
when you
of
show
also
up on
who
a
I am.
date, have
Yes.
you encountered this a lot?
What is dating?
That men try and
even
put
is
up a
that?
front, a facade.
Haven't been on one of those in a long
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely. For the most part, yes.
Is it more attractive to you when a guy doesn't put on a front facade?
When the guy's just real, when I can tell that they're not putting on a mask, yes. Or 16 masks, of course.
He's like, hold on.
It's like, yeah. What are those little like Kachina dolls or like those little things? It's like, oh, you pull another one, then there's another one left, and you just keep going.
Yeah.
So of course, if I can see who the real person is, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
What are your like? So what are some telltales with that? I mean, have you thought that in
Am I
depth
all of a
about
sudden
it?
getting interviewed? Like
Yeah,
a
you
guest
are. You're
over
getting
here?
interviewed as a
Crap,
guest.
all of a sudden.
You're the
it's
only
like-
girl on the show. We've kind of left you out.
I know, well, no, I'm.
We haven't left you out, but you know, I feel like you're the one
Your
that can weigh
opinion
in.
is valued.
Yeah.
Great. So who's asking me what? Go ahead.
I am asking you if are there any telltale signs when a guy's kind of like boilerplate things, because I think that a lot of people might have fooled themselves into
Boilerplate douchebaggery.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like boilerplate warning signs that you're
Yes.
hiding who you are, because I think a lot of guys could even have convinced themselves that they're not, that they're being authentic, and they're lying to themselves about lying to themselves.
Absolutely. I think cell phones are huge. Don't have your cell phone out. Don't be on the phone. Don't be distracting yourself with anything. Definitely don't talk about yourself constantly. Show some interest in the person that you're out with.
But vulnerability specifically.
I mean, those are big things right there, though.
Yeah. Do you think that they're like crutches?
I think they're blocks. They're roadblocks in the very beginning, because how can you get to a vulnerable state being either person,
Yeah.
showing that if you already have those guards up? So
I love that. I'm gonna start going out on dates and just pull out my cell phone.
Just be on Tinder, like, oh, what do you think? I got a
Everybody
match.
does it,
What should
though.
I say? What should I say?
I have thought about that. Yeah, and that would be a great comedy, a great sketch comedy sketch.
No, it is. I mean, if your phone is out, why? Why is your phone out? Like, obviously, it's out because you're thinking about what's going on with your phone, or you need to do something with it. If you're with a person, be with the person.
Be present. Be
Be
truthful.
present. Be
you.
with the person. Put your guard down. Put your phone down, and show interest.
And it's-
Ask the person questions.
It's crazy because it kind of always comes back to that. Like throughout the show, we've talked about dating this and dating that, but it always comes back to sociological constructs. It always comes back to the stuff you've kind of built up over time because you thought about it, or you thought this was the right way, or somebody told you this, or you were raised that way. And really, when it gets down to it, you have to live your truth. And we've had some other dating coaches. You've interviewed Brian Reeves, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we had Brian Reeves on here, and it was an amazing show. You know, we sat down and we talked about that, and we're friends on Facebook, and I get all his posts, and I'm just I love hearing the stuff that he's doing, and you know how in touch and how truthful and how honest and kind of connected you have to be. And it's so easy to go the other way and just be completely disconnected. You don't know where you are. You're kind of a leaf blowing in the wind, and you have no there's no real grounding anywhere. You know, you don't know who you are. You don't know what you're doing, and you don't know why.
Yeah.
So
Definitely don't be pulling up your Instagram and Facebook and showing the girl pictures and, you know, this is what I did. It's like, no.
One of the things that worked for me in really kind of discovering that is I analyze everything that I do, every action, every movement, every word that comes out of my mouth. I'll sit back and I'll analyze, and this show's actually been great because I've been able to kind of see everything back. Have you ever noticed that in your podcast?
What's that?
That you like go back through and you're like, oh man,
Playbacks?
like it actually made you better because you're able to listen to yourself.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Yeah, you get to go through that
yourself.
growth process. But that's one of the things that I would impress most, out there to our viewers is really analyze, where you got your belief systems from, where you got what you're thinking, where these things develop, where do they come from? These moral concepts of right and wrong, or
All the stuff your mama should have told you and the stuff your daddy never
yeah,
knew. Those
because
things.
if you actually start to break it down, you'll come to the realization that a lot of it didn't come from you. So, and we talk about that all throughout my book, is really just breaking down sociological constructs.
So looking at like, I could think of like your father, like what did your father teach you? Mother, society, friends, the job place, what you learn in school, and then like looking at, well, what's the truth? Like what's the truth? What's really, maybe you learned that, you have to have a job. Maybe you learned that that's the only way, and like you have to have a job because it gives you health insurance, which is what I was taught, and that you can just go buy health insurance. And you can go build a business, and it's not, you're not limited. Little things like that.
I was a go-go dancer at a gay club, and for the first time in my life, I was put in a position where guys were hitting on me. So that put me in a feminine perspective, and that actually shaped everything that came out of my book. Like, I mean, that was what put me on the path to understanding that, was that one day, that perspective shift where it was like,
Jared's never going to grab an ass. not ever.
But yeah,
what was that like, just getting, when guys looking at you?
At first it was like, I'm just going to get drunk. I don't give a fuck. It was like, as long as I went in there and drank half a thing of vodka, like, it was just, I'm on stage, you can't really see anything anyway, so you're just like, fuck it, And I grew up, it's funny, I grew up as a kid, I didn't get much attention. There was a lot of ostracization. I didn't get along socially, so to be up there and kind of be recognized and wanted in any capacity was kind of welcome for me. I was like, yeah, I was like, I was getting out of my exhibition, all my exhibitionist needs. And then it kind of the reality of it set in. And it's like, oh wow, people are touching you and people are groping you and kind of like being all over you. And it was funny because I didn't grow up with a male role model. I didn't grow up with a father or anything. So I had nothing to really base my masculinity off of. And I really analyzed, like, is this okay? Is this wrong? Is this right? Like, the fact that I don't, I'm not sitting here ready to punch this guy in the face. Does that make me gay? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And
like, you're not standing up or asserting yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
So
shouldn't I do that?
And then there were times when it was like, you get a reach around, you're like, whoa, and your gut reaction is to hit this person, but you can't do that because you're working. So all of a sudden it's like, I found things coming out of my mouth that I've never said before. Like, ew, that's rude, or, oh, that's gross or tacky, and there were things that females would say.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, a big point, which is, you didn't have a strong male role model. I think many men, even if you have a father in your house, it doesn't mean that you had a male role model.
Yeah.
He may not have been, he may have also not have had a male role model, or he may not have been present in the household.
He might have been a disappointing human with a penis. It's possible.
It's possible. And that's that. And then, so where do we get our advice from for like being a man? It's like, we're looking to our
this
friends.
show right here.
We're looking to this show. Knowledge friend. We're looking to like Hollywood. Like, we look at TV, we look at shows, and like we look at what we want to be. We're like, oh, I like that, and like that's who we try and be. Or we're looking at our friends or that cool kid in high school, and we're constantly trying to look to that as our male role model. It's an unhealthy male role model.
Well, I got lucky because I could never really find any male role models, and I didn't have a father present. So it's funny because you could sit here and I could make this the sob story that ruined my life, and I never had a male role model, so I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. Or you can make it, I didn't have a male role model, so there was nobody to ever make me short-sighted. There was no bar, so I just kept building. It was like, oh, I like this, I like this, I don't like this. I got to pick, in every capacity, everything that I wanted to be, and that I don't think that. Maybe I would have been more prejudiced. Maybe I would have go dance at a gay club and never done any of that stuff. I don't think that it would have affected it greatly, but maybe. But I didn't know how to be homophobic. I viewed them as people. Like, they just didn't make sense, And I in that I got one of my biggest perspective shifts I've ever had, because I realized what it was like to be a girl. To be aggressed, to be hit on, to be, asserted on, or what was it, penetrated? I wasn't penetrated, but that kind of penetrate the world mentality.
Don't penetrate my world with that aggression bullshit.
I got to see what that was like, and then out of that sprung a book and a dating show and all of this different stuff. Because for the first time in my life, it was like, oh wow, so it's not male female, it's a sociological thing. Men are taught to be this way, and women are, and it's like, just because it's this way doesn't mean that it's comfortable.
No, and it comes off so contrived most of the time too.
What?
Yeah.
The aggressive hit on, standards. Like,
Well, you just think about it when it comes to football. That's all I've been around.
Yeah.
You've seen any football players in a room, we're used to bumping and hitting people. So it's like basketball players, they don't want to hit anybody. So when they're in the club or anywhere, they're kind of smooth and silky in the room. Football players were obnoxious. You know,
A lot of
big
testosterone
guys,
in the
a lot
room.
of testosterone.
Yeah.
And what you see in the NFL and what your teammates, how teammates treat women and things of that nature. If you don't have a male figure, like that's what you try to emulate because you see the successful guys doing that stuff, and it kind of matches and just naturally infuses into your brain. Hey, look, I'm just going to emulate this and then treat women a specific way. So then you don't even know how to be in relationships because you didn't have a male figure. But some of the coaches and people in the NFL, this is what we do. So when we get into relationships, this is what I do. Alpha male, you know, really aggressive, you know, not vulnerable. And it's so warped and sucks at times because that's all you've been seeing since you were 10 years old, 12 years old, and you've been doing that your whole life. And it's like, whoa, now I don't even know how to be in relationships.
Wow. Yeah. So, and that's great because you would think, I think a lot of guys out there who are looking up are going to look up to sports figures and they're going to think, I should be more like that. I should be more alpha. I should be, more closed off. And I think that a lot of males, when they're looking for like what they should be, go to that, go to alpha thing. And I've always been very, very, non-directive with that. Like the whole alpha thing just needs to be tucked in a box and thrown in the ocean.
I think it's a thing from like the mid 2000s, like the
Yeah.
alpha thing. I feel like it's still
From the pickup community.
yeah, like an extension of the pickup community. It's definitely important. But I just really. I just tend to when I say assert yourself or penetrate the world, like I'm talking about like your purpose. Like this is an extension of you, in my opinion, of penetrating the world. Like you're penetrating the world with this content, bringing these people together, organizing all of this, versus you just at home watching like what's like a TV show you're just completely addicted to.
Mr. Robot.
Okay,
Just
so
got me.
if you were just at home and then what's like a food that just crushes you?
pizza.
Pizza. All right. So pizza, TV show.
Good night.
That's you not penetrating the world. That's the world penetrating you. Like you are getting penetrated. You're just there getting screwed.
Damn you, Papa John's.
But you doing this, you doing your work, and you doing this work. Like this is your form of penetrating the world, and it's probably a part of your vision in some way. Like this is a part of that journey that
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was made for that.
Yeah.
And that whole journey, I mean, it started here and then it built and built and built, and it started with a book and then that turned into a radio show, which is now turning into much bigger things. So
amazing. I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up here. Where can people find you?
Like a Christmas present. Just wrap you up
what have you
with
got
bows.
to promote right now, and where can people find you?
Yeah, so knowledgeformen.com. I do a bi-weekly podcast interviewing. I've named a lot of different big names I've interviewed, and I do a weekly Q&A at kfmlive.com. I just give some cool, great insight that I've learned along this. I read a ton of books. I interview a lot of people. I'm just surrounded by a lot of people in San Diego. And so weekly insight and Q&A with anyone, it's live at kfmlive.com, and then knowledgeformen.com just to check out the podcast or contact me. I'd be happy to talk.
Awesome. And
Unless
Ralph?
you're a hater, then he's going to ignore you.
Ralph Davis Group will be relaunched next month in February. It's my motivational speaking and blog page.
Nice.
A lot of learning tools, how to like motivate yourself, things of that nature, and get your day started and achieve your goals, just like I did, kind of from a professional athlete's way of thinking, and it kind of aligns with what you're saying as well. But also on Twitter, it's Ralph D. Brown, at Ralph D. Brown. Instagram, I am Ralph B. I have some quotes on there. You can see some of my experiences with my motivational speaking, sports stuff as well.
Awesome.
Cool. You guys can moo at me at Sarah Beth Harris.
Cool. And as always, you can find us at modernmaleinc.com. We're going to start directing all traffic there, so modernmaleinc.com. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe.
Yes, please.
Cool. That's it for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Modern Male Radio.
Bye.
You're listening to Modern Male Radio with Jerod Zavistoski, right here on LA Talk Radio.